Empires rise through conquest, but they endure through language. Words can unite a nation or erase one. From Rome's Latin to Britain's English, language became the invisible weapon that shaped power, loyalty, and control. It's the hidden architecture holding empires together long after the battles are won. This is the story of how empires ruled not just with swords, but with words. When Rome expanded across Europe, its legions conquered territories, but something else had to conquer minds. Rome needed more than armies to hold its vast empire together. It needed understanding. Latin became the empire's lifeline, the language of power, of law, and of the gods. It was etched into marble, declared in the Senate, and spoken by every official from Britannia to Mesopotamia. To speak Latin was to belong, to be a citizen, to have a voice in the new world order. To ignore it was to remain on the outside, forever marked as conquered. The Romans understood a profound truth: a shared language creates a shared reality. By making Latin the tongue of ambition and administration, they built an empire that lived on in the minds of its people for centuries. As the Roman Empire began to crumble, its language found an unexpected savior. Latin transformed from the voice of empire to the language of faith. The Church, rising from the ashes of Rome, adopted Latin as its sacred tongue. For 1,000 years, it was preserved within the stone walls of monasteries and cathedrals. Communication with the divine was conducted in Latin, making it a gatekeeper to salvation itself. The ability to read and write these holy words became a source of immense authority. Priests and scribes held the keys not just to heaven, but to knowledge on earth. In this new world, Latin wasn't just a language. It was divine authority made manifest, ensuring that words and those who controlled them remained the ultimate source of power. But Rome's model was just the beginning. From the Islamic caliphates to the British Empire, rulers discovered another powerful secret: if you control the act of translation, you control truth itself. When the Islamic Golden Age dawned, Arabic became the unifying force across diverse lands, from the Iberian Peninsula to the borders of China. It wasn't just the language of the Quran, it was the language of science, philosophy, and commerce, translating and preserving knowledge from Greek, Persian, and Indian civilizations. Later, English would do the same on an even grander scale. As British ships crossed the seas, they carried with them a language that would redefine the modern world, becoming the tongue of global trade, diplomacy, and eventually, the internet. In each case, one language became the central processor for an entire era's worth of ideas. But for every language that rose to imperial heights, another was silenced. The spread of an empire's tongue was often a zero-sum game. Colonizers didn't just introduce their language. They actively replaced native tongues, viewing them as barbaric, uncivilized, and an obstacle to progress. In residential schools across the Americas, Africa, and Asia, children were punished for speaking their mother tongue. The goal was clear: replace culture with conformity. By erasing a people's language, you erase their history, their stories, their connection to their ancestors. Identity itself was rewritten. In this brutal exchange, to speak the empire's language was to survive, to gain access to education and opportunity. To resist it, to hold on to your own words, was to risk disappearing from the new world being built around you. In the modern age, the strategy evolved. Language became propaganda. Political leaders, armed with new technologies like the radio and the printing press, learned to weaponize words with terrifying precision. They could twist meanings, rewrite memories, and manufacture consent on a mass scale. Slogans, headlines, and carefully crafted speeches became the tools for controlling public thought. The language of us versus them, of national purity and external threats, was used to rally populations and justify unspeakable acts. In this new kind of empire, physical chains were no longer always necessary. The invisible chains of ideology, forged in the language of newspapers and broadcasts, were often far more effective. Yet, language can never be fully tamed. it possesses a resilient, rebellious spirit. The very words of the empire could be turned against it. Writers, poets, and revolutionaries took the master's language and used it to articulate a vision of freedom. Gandhi, educated in English law, used his mastery of the language to plead India's case for independence to the world. In Africa, writers like Chinua Achebe and Ngugi Washington Thiong'o used the colonial tongue to tell their own stories, exposing the brutalities of empire and reclaiming their cultural narrative. From whispered poems in occupied territories to thundering speeches at protest rallies, language became the ultimate weapon of the oppressed, a powerful reminder that even in the face of overwhelming force, a voice can speak power back. Today, the echoes of these linguistic empires are all around us. English dominates the digital age, connecting billions of people in a global conversation. It's the language of science, technology, and international business. But this connectivity carries the same old shadow of control. Algorithms, written in code that privileges certain languages, shape what we see and believe. Global media outlets frame world events through a specific linguistic and cultural lens. The empire has changed its form. It's no longer just a territory on a map, but a network of information. Its voice still whispers in every tongue, subtly influencing our thoughts, our desires, and our understanding of the world. The fundamental power dynamic remains. Empires fall, languages evolve, but the power of words never fades. They build worlds, and they can tear them down. To understand how we are ruled, how our societies are shaped, and how our own thoughts are formed, we must first understand the language that rules us. Thank you for joining us on this journey through history. If you found this exploration of language and power fascinating, be sure to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss our next story.